We are live at the Winter Palace in Luxor. I'm Laura and Roy, and we're very, very excited to bring you this live broadcast from Luxor, Egypt. This is the beautiful historic Winter Palace built in 1886 as a residence, as a palace for the Khedive of Taufik. And has been the home to many greats through over 100 years. So many wonderful things, such as the press conference for the discovery of Tutankhamun. This was Carnarvon's second home. It was Carter's home. And we're also going to visit another piece of history of Luxor and a very important part of the Winter Palace, which is Gaddis. It's a little store connected, selling books and prints and souvenirs, but this was the home to one of the pioneering Egyptian photographers in the early part of the 20th century, Gaddis, who used this glass plate technique the same time as Harry Burton, and at the same time Eastman was starting with his photography. And we're going to go visit his grandson, Ehab Gaddis, who is a former vice consul of Britain, and he now runs his grandfather's business, and this is an essential stop when you come to Luxor. Let's go in the shop. We are here. We're back. We are in the Gaddis store here in the courtyard, I guess in the terrace of the Winter Palace Hotel. And this historic, I mean, a lot of people come to Luxor. They see the Luxor Museum. They see the temples. But this is also a piece of history. The Gaddis store, just at the base of the steps of the old Winter Palace. It has been here since 1907. And I'm so honored to be here with Ehab Gaddis, who is the grandson of the original, a great early photographer, Atiyah Gaddis, your grandfather. And this store still sells all of these amazing prints, this historic prints that have preserved the history, not only of the Winter Palace, but of Luxor through these extremely iconic times. Yeah, you must be so proud.
Thank you for this interview. And this long story for my grandfather. He was born in 1889. Thomas Cook started in 1886 in Luxor. And he was born in a village 20 kilometers south of Luxor. And when he was 3 years old, the father died, and the mother decided to move to the city here to teach him. At that time, there was no school in Luxor. It was school belonged to the churches or to the mosques. Mm-hmm. So they lived above the old Luxor was above the Luxor temple.
There were still people living above the Luxor temple at this time. Yeah. And this is the time of Flinders Petrie. I mean, this is a historic time, early archaeology.
Around, let's say 1903, 1904, and before. I mean 1890 or 1895, something like this. And he started to contact with the tourists in the area. And at that time, there was a famous photographer in the world at that time, Antonio Piatto, the Italian one.
Yes.
He had a studio here. And we think that he started to work with him, concerning to the Milano Institute for Photographer. And then he started to work with him. Piatto died in 1904. At that time, my grandfather was about 15 or 14 years old.
Yeah, and he apprenticed with this Beato, with this Italian photographer, and this was before the time of, everybody knows Harry Burton, who is the photographer for the Tutankhamun. But this predates Harry Burton using this glass plate photography.
And my grandfather considered one of the first generation Egyptian photographer. Not second for all over the world, but for Egypt, he was one of the pioneers. He and there is some other one called Riyad Shahata.
Yeah.
But Riyad Shahata was the photographer of the royal family at that time. So he was only in the palace. Yeah.
And can you show us some of your grandfather's works?
Yes, sure.
Let's take a look. Oh.
You can. It's different. We have about 2,000 pieces, different sizes, starting from 9x6 until 30x40.
But he really captured this interesting period of Egypt. What are some of his most iconic works?
The cornets, that's here. That's the new Sphinx Road will ended here.
Oh, this is Khonsu Temple.
Yeah.
Is this Khonsu Temple? Yes.
Karnak.
Karnak, but is this the Khonsu?
This
Yes.
is the eastern gate.
This is the gate. This is the eastern gate. And look at it. We just passed through that this morning, actually. Wow. And they're rebuilding, of course, the Avenue of the
This is
Sphinxes.
road from the Nile. The entrance of the temple from the West Bank.
And this is what it looked like around 1910, 20?
Yes, at that time, because most of the collection had been done between 1907 until 1930.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. But he also, and you were happy, you were lucky to still have his works because I think your father preserved them in a refrigerator
Yes,
for
exactly.
20 years, right?
He was a jewelry. He wasn't interested in photography at all, but he was a good guard for the glasses. Yeah.
And do you have, and we also should, we're looking at some of his works and looking at like the native Egyptians, the people who
Native
lived at the
Egyptian,
time.
And the professional photographer says this is best portrait in Egypt at that time because he wasn't hired them. It was natural photos, so he looks. Most of them they have a natural smile.
You know, I know that Harry Burton with Howard Carter would often pose the shots, right? So this was more natural representations of the
And
people.
also, if you see the sunglasses of Beato and my grandfather, you feel the same eye, the wide angle eye. And this is for King Fuad, who visited
Look at that.
was king of Egypt and visited Luxor in 1925.
Look at
After
that.
the discovery of Tutankhamun, because Luxor was like a Mecca of the world at that time from 1924 until 1930. It was Mecca of the photographer and Mecca for the all kings and the queens at that time. Yeah.
That's amazing. Maybe we should take a look at the camera itself.
Yes,
if we
sure,
just
yeah.
switch it around. Let's just take a look. If you just careful behind you, Francois.
Also the glasses, you can show you the glasses.
Yes. Whoa, we're playing Twister here. Here we go. Let's just do this. Okay. This is
Come on.
it.
This is 1860.
This is 1860.
Yeah, this is big one. Yeah. Yeah, Luxor.
And again, this we don't know Harry Burton with your father. We don't quite know
we,
the.
We don't know this missing part from us. We don't know if they, but sure they met because my grandfather's studio was here, and sure they met. Sure, yeah,
Do we know about your father's relationship with Carnarvon and Carter at all?
they were all staying in the Winter Palace, so sure they were his customer. Yeah.
Yes. And how do you feel right now, the state of Egypt? I mean, your family has been here for, for the whole century. And how do you feel right now with where Egypt is at? There's Corona, there's the revolution 10 years ago, 11 years ago.
We suffered a lot of the revolution, and we started to move up again, but the Corona, we came down, but we always used like this up and down, so we know that we will pass and we will survive by anyway.
Do you think, I mean, yeah, of course, because
Yeah.
after the decade of Tutankhamun, there was the depression. Your
Depression.
father had to
And-
live.
And before Tutankhamun, there was the first war, and the depression was 1930 and 1929 for 3 years, and then the second war. After that,
And your father was,
and
your grandfather
my
was
father
here
is-
till the
is-
60s, 70.
70, he died in 1970, and from 1967 until 1973, it was the war between Egypt and Israel. So we used, every 2 years we have 2 years crisis. But we used
So
to.
this is
We-
nothing
we
nothing
always-
unusual,
plan-
right?
Yeah. The plan B is always ready.
Do you feel that Egypt is ready for another 1920s, like another great era? Like, are you feeling in your heart that it's coming?
Yes, it's coming because we have many events next year. The Grand Museum in Cairo, the Tutankhamun, the Sphinx Road will be open officially in November between Luxor Temple and Karnak Temple. This is the first celebration it will be, and we hope that's everything back to normal as usual.
Ah, yes, inshallah, right? Do you have any of the prints, anything you wanted to show us?
I
You
will
have
show you the glasses.
the glasses. Okay. So we're going to do that. I think
Yeah.
Manal, his lovely wife. Are we coming this way? Okay, let's go. Let's follow Ehab. through this beautiful store. And I love coming here. I bought my little necklace, and there's no hassle, and it's all authentic, beautiful. There's historic jewelry, really well crafted pieces here. I'm not being paid to do a commercial. I just like it here.
Here's the rare treasure.
Oh, it's no longer in the refrigerator.
No.
Wow. Wow. So all of the prints. Oh, here, Francois, over here, look. What are we looking at, Ehab?
This is Luxor temple. This is the negative. Yeah.
And this is, and again, when I'm just trying to see, this would have been about what year, this print?
That's early, a little bit early, maybe before 1930. You know, they do the whole collection between 1912 until 1930. In 1932, he split the company, he and his partner. So they split the negative, and everybody started to re-photo the collection he missed. But until 32, they have a full collection. There was a partner with somebody called
Safe, and he
Saif,
became
yeah.
a competitor with him, yes?
Exactly. Yeah. And then after that, they split the negative. So everybody started to re-photo the images he lost.
Show us another one.
Yes, sure.
Show us another one. Yes, and then George Eastman with the Kodak, he started the portable camera too for tourists. Of course, tourism really started in earnest after the Tasmania. Oh, there's Ramses from Luxor Temple, yes?
You know, my grandfather file in Kodak, the old files, was number 2. The first number 2. His file in Kodak.
Oh, his file.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the file number 1 was belonged to the Studio Masr, was for cinema production here. And the second one, number 2, was Ataya and Saif. Yeah,
Really, he had the rights to the
Yeah,
Kodak,
yeah.
and he was selling the Kodak Brownie. I think it was the Brownie camera. Anyway, it was the early Kodak camera. Then tourists were coming
I
for.
have a lot of statements from Kodak and Bells during the 120 film, 120, the 36 millimeter, the 110. It was different. The rolls was different. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say, why are we looking at a store which is and a place that is associated with photography in Egypt, the first Egyptian photographer? But if you think of how we understand Egypt, it's always been through photography. And before that, we had like the paintings of David Roberts or the paintings of the savants. But really, the last 150 years, we're doing Facebook Live, but it was started with Atia Gaddis with the glass plate photography.
You know, there is 4 famous documents for Egypt. The Napoleon Bonaparte first documentary for
Napoleon, La Description de l'Égypte.
Description de l'Égypte. Then David Robert.
And David Robert.
And then the black and white period, my grandfathers and others, you know, from Europe.
Show us another one.
I'll show you another one.
Oh, and the Winter Palace would be interesting to see. Be careful of those. Those are like history. Do you have any of the Winter Palace itself?
Yeah, negative we have, but
Yeah. What's this one?
this is the third payload for. Sorry.
Oh, you've got to be so careful.
This is the third payload of Luxor Temple.
Oh,
this
look at
book's
this.
for
Is
Luxor,
this
yeah.
the sun court of Amenhotep III?
Yes.
I think,
Yeah.
yes. Look at this. You know, you may not see, how important this is if you're watching on Facebook, but really this is the earliest photography of Egypt, of Egyptian photography. And you come to this store, you can get prints based on this early period. And you also, your grandfather documented while this hotel, its
The
glory
hotels,
days.
You know, the advantage is this collection now. It's complete collection. It cover all the temples from Abydos down to Abu Simbel. First. Second, it cover all the city, the hotels and the events and all the official visits.
Princess Eugenie.
Like Prince Umberto, Prince of Italy, Queen of Belgium in 1925, Queen of Afghanistan, Aman Allah, King Aman Allah in 1925, 26, King Fuad, Prince Farouk and King Farouk. Yeah, because Farouk always visits Luxor many times, maybe three, four times there. And all old buildings, the portrait, I mean, like the handmade, the handicraft workers who make the souk. So it has it all. And also the portrait in the studio, when they start to do the ID for the Egyptians, they must have photos, and with the wedding, so it's.
Did your grandfather take? I know that the Times of London had the copyright on covering the Tutankhamun discovery, and there was a certain paper. But did your grandfather take pictures
From inside, yes.
from inside the tomb?
Yes.
Really?
Really.
And do you have any
Yes,
of those?
we have the
Let's
photos.
let's see up front. Let's see his Atia Gaddis, the original pictures from the Tutankhamun discovery. Let's go through. We're in here. Say hi, Jean.
Hello, everybody. I'm sure you're enjoying this experience. And Laura,
Jean is my inspiration. She's a lady who moved here from England, and she's made a life in Egypt, and she's been a tour guide, and she's an Egyptologist herself, and she's a lovely person to know in Luxor and
it's
Aswan.
also lovely to know Laura and Francois.
And she actually helped us get married in Luxor 6 years ago. So Ehab is looking for some of the pictures that his grandfather took of the discovery, during the time of the discovery of Tutankhamun. And he took pictures from inside, and we still have those. And do you know, his prints, his grandfather's prints, are so respected and so loved. Even the wonderful director who we met of the SS Sudan, Amir, comes here and buys prints for his guests of the SS Sudan. And I'm certainly going to pick out something that resonates with me too. We're just looking through. While he's looking, here, this is the pyramids from the early 20th century. Oh, I love this one. Look at this. Look at the flooding. So before the dam, the pyramids would flood every season. And so here we have a water buffalo with a villager, Fellahin, near the pyramids before the Aswan Dam controlled the flooding. So
That's one of the Tutankhamun's removing.
oh my! This was your father's, your grandfather's.
Yes.
I know this picture so well. Oh my goodness!
I have the negative. You might buy the negative from somebody, but I have the negative.
I show this when I teach the Tutankhamun course. I show these pictures of the removal of the objects from the tomb of Tutankhamun. That's amazing.
Yeah, this is normal life in Luxor, the old Luxor.
Yeah.
That's how they make the boats.
This is how they made the boats.
Yes. The
Wow.
fluka
And what wood are they using? They're not using like the ancient Egyptians from Byblos. They're using native.
different sorts. You get different sorts of woods.
Yeah,
and
making the
this is-
boats.
For
Oh, look! She's found Manal
yeah.
has found some.
Howard Carter and Lord Carnarvon.
Yep. We see. Where's Carter in this one? There's Carter,
Yeah.
right there. And yeah, look at that. And they're bringing out. I'm trying to see. My eyesight is so bad. I don't have my glasses on. Which objects? They're bringing out his little chest, the little painted chest. I think.
There's one with
Yeah.
the pendant.
I'm just going to put this here. To be careful.
With King Fuad.
King Fuad, and he
and
is at.
King Farouk.
He is.
King Farouk.
This is Luxor Temple. Yes.
no, this is Karnak.
Karnak. It's Karnak. Sorry, I should know better.
No, it's
King-
Karnak.
King Farouk
Inside the Winter Palace, yeah.
inside the Winter Palace. Where is he standing in the Winter Palace? There, I wonder.
And this is King Aman Allah, King of Afghanistan in 1925.
Oh, yes, there you go. So he really, Attila Gaddis captured all the visits of the
Yes, he-
dignitaries,
he
all
was-
the royal
he was
visits.
the official photographer for two most famous magazines in Cairo called Al-Lataif and Al-Musawwar.
Yeah,
He was the reporter and photographer here.
yeah.
And this is Prince Umberto, Prince of Italy, 1930.
Umberto.
Umberto.
Umberto is the second.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
that's
Umberto.
that is correct.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
And this is Queen of Belgium with Jean Capar. Jean Capar, he was the first enemy for Howard Carter.
The first what?
Enemy to Howard Carter.
Who-
Because he stopped him to move all the jewelry to London. He was the director of the Antiquities of Luxor here. He was French. And he said to Carter, stop.
That wasn't around the time where Carter was booted out of the tomb, was
Yeah,
it?
You know,
he left.
He discovered
Yeah,
that
and then he had to
22,
leave.
but it was closed for 3
Yes.
years because there was a big argument between him and the Egyptian government and about his share, and it was a long story.
And the
So-
cover that covered the second shrine
Yeah,
that they found with the rosettes in that
and
period
then
disintegrated.
they
Yes,
reopened
it is
it
a lot. Yes.
They lost
and
some
then
pieces.
Opened, I think, 1925 after that. Or
It was
1924.
10 years he worked.
Yeah,
Yes, it was
when
10
they-
years.
Yes.
When they reached to an agreement, it was 1924 to 1925. So he fight to keep the jewelry here and the furniture and everything.
Bad
so
man.
we consider, yeah.
What else has Manal found here?
Here, Princess Farouk. When
Prince
he was
Farouk.
Prince,
When he
sorry,
was a prince.
I
Farouk.
mean, yeah.
Yes,
This
before.
was 36.
Wow, before he was a
Before
a
king
big.
was big months different.
Yes.
Maybe this was in winter and he became a king in 36. in summer
Before he was a
time.
portly king.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, he was very good looking
Yes.
when he was young.
Yes, he was.
And this how they transfer the water from the Nile.
To the houses.
To
There
the
was no
houses.
pipes at that time.
Wow.
You know, we have photo for the Winter Palace.
Oh,
here.
look at that. And that, if you can imagine, when they were working, clearing the tomb for Tutankhamun, they would bring, the workmen would bring, it was a water boy that discovered the step, too.
Yeah.
He was bringing one of those,
Yes, that's
right?
true.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Oh, look at those native. Do you have the picture of the water boy? He took the picture of the famous water boy who discovered the step that led down to the
no,
tomb.
no,
No, that wasn't him. Okay.
This
He was
is
very-
Howard Carter over there.
Oh, look at that. What are they moving, Jean? I can't. My eyesight is too bad.
No, it's very difficult to see.
I think it's all
Because of
packaged
time.
up.
Yes, it is. You've got the things.
You know what this?
What is this?
This is the first Thomas Cook office.
The first Thomas Cook office.
Yes.
That's right, Thomas Cook.
Was then they got this office, but this was the beginning for Thomas Cook in.
I will tell you something you may not know. Before Thomas Cook established his first tour, there was a group of Canadians, I always like to teach this, that traveled up the Nile. There was a doctors from Montreal, and they went buying mummies in the early 1860s, before Thomas Cook. Anyway, I'm a proud Canadian, what can I say? But this is lovely. Oops. And you can see we're in Gaddis' store, which is part of the Winter Palace. It really is, and it's an essential part of the history of both Luxor and the Winter Palace, because it's here that the first photography was made by a native Egyptian who was schooled by an Italian in 1907. And this is a historic place to visit if you're in Luxor. Whether you're staying at the Winter Palace or staying at the Sonesta or the Steigenberger, you need to come because you can go and find some beautiful prints and take a journey back 120 years.
Yes, we always say your visit to Luxor will not be incomplete unless you visit our small museum.
I have to ask you finally, because you are such a part of history, and I've asked you this before, but what do you think why do you think people should come and visit Egypt right now, and is it safe? And talk about how.
As a security-wise, it's very safe now. Maybe there is a little bit hassle outside, but it's happened in every place in the world. And the most easiest hassle here in Egypt, because the people, they are peace. They are not aggressive.
I have to tell you, I feel safer in Luxor, Cairo, or Aswan than I do in Toronto.
And I think Egypt, everybody, especially in Europe and in the Western world, they grow up, they study the Egyptian history. I know, for example, in London, when I use the tube, I know this is the British Museum station when I see little kids, too much kids in schools, kids, so I see this is the British Museum station because they are coming from the museum. So I told Manal first time she visits London, you see, this is our next customer, this is our future customers. These kids, they are our future customers, you know.
You know, it's interesting because I know in Toronto we have a good small collection, and people go and they look at Aunt Chow, our mummy from the late period, and they become Egyptologists later, like Gail Gibson, our friend Gail Gibson. It's like you go and look at museum, and you, like you, Jean, I bet you went to the museums in Manchester, and you became an Egyptophile in England, didn't you?
Yes, we're very lucky in England. I think the picture you're making is part of the chariot of Tutankhamun. You know, the front part of the chariot.
Oh, that was
because
the
it came
front
out
part.
in pieces. You know, everything was.
Where was that picture again? Oh, well.
It was like the ancient IKEA. You put it together yourself.
And
Yeah.
also there is another reason to make people visit Luxor, especially Luxor.
Yes.
Because I have an Italian friend, he has a publishing house, tourist books. He always says there is 4 unique cities all over the world.
There was
Egypt, 4 unique cities all over
In
the
the
world.
world, yes.
4 unique cities. Venice in Italy, Venice.
Yes.
Naples in India. Jerusalem.
Wow.
Luxor.
I'm a little surprised by the Indian city made its way in
Naples,
there.
it's holy city.
It's
It's
a
a holy
holy-
city. Yeah, holy city.
Paris didn't make it. Rome
No,
didn't
no.
make it.
No. Rome you can find. Yeah, I mean you can find Rome churches, or you can find in France, Paris. You find a lot of churches also.
No Athens.
Athens, you find the Acropole. You have hundreds of Acropole.
That's right. That's an Acropolis. We got a dozen of them.
You can watch the Colosseum in Rome.
Yeah.
Vegas, you can see Monte Carlo.
If
New
it-
York, the Big Apple. I know the Big Apple, but you can find
Oh,
London. It's both of them. They are similar.
Even the Statue of Liberty in New York, what was it supposed to be originally? It was supposed to be
in
Suez.
Canal. Yeah,
It was supposed to be a Fellahan woman,
Yes.
right? It was going to be a Fellahan woman welcoming in the Suez, but something happened. They said, no, it was New York said, we'll take it.
They always have the money in America,
Yeah.
so they can.
Yeah.
But it was supposed to give us a present. Yes, it was supposed to be.
So Disneyland, you find it everywhere in the world, but there is one Luxor temple and one Karnak temple.
And there's one Gaddis.
So,
There's one Gaddis. And,
No,
and
we are a lot. Yeah.
oh, well, I guess there's many. You have many children and relatives, but there's one Gaddis store, and it's at the foot of the Winter Palace. And I don't. This isn't a commercial. These lovely people have just welcomed me, and I find it historically interesting to see this beautiful store. This is Manal, his wife, his beautiful wife, and it's just such a pleasant place, isn't it, Jean? Because Jean has lived in Luxor for many years.
I'm honoured to have lived in Luxor. And of course, the ancient Egyptians taught the Greeks and the Romans how to build. So I
Yes.
think this is another iconic thing. People forget this. We're classicists. And really, ancient Egypt gave us so much to the world, medicine, buildings. We're so lucky to be able to visit this wonderful country, and especially Luxor.
And many of you may not have known that ancient Egypt, well, modern Egypt, also gave us some of the finest first photographs. Because Harry Burton, everyone knows Harry Burton,
Yeah.
but Attia Gaddis should be up there with Harry Burton as one of the pioneering makers. And you can come and see the prints here.
You know, when they invent the camera in Paris, 1950 or 1940, something like that. The first country they start photo, Egypt, and the first photo was the Laura Palace. It was the royal palace at Alexandria. When the ship close to arrive to Alexandria, this was first shot, and this is the original one now at the Alexandria Public now. The Alexandria Library. You can see you can watch the original one is there.
I just also wanted to ask, your grandfather's collection is now digitized, right? You're getting it digitized?
Yes.
Is it all digitized?
Yes, and
I hope.
yeah.
You know, scientific library burned, some of the Napoleonic stuff gone. You need to.
It's good between good hands still now.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you. I think this has been a wonderful visit, and I'm very honored.
Thank you, always. Thank you for you. Thank you.
I
Thank
really
you,
enjoyed this.
Francois. Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Francois.
Thanks everyone for watching. We go to Hurghada tomorrow. It's been a beautiful stay in Luxor. We've had a fantastic trip to Egypt so far. It's been magical, and everybody should visit Egypt. It's safe. It's safe. It's safer than North America. It's less fear here, but people are vaccinated. You're vaccinated, right? So there's no worry. There's no worry, and it's just don't stop traveling.